We're ready to get started.
All right. Happy Sunday, everybody. Sunday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're from. Welcome. My name is Kim. I'm the COO for Everyday Shiro, and we're excited that you're here. Everyday Shiro, we're an edtech ecosystem providing education and training for Web3 curious. We've been in the space for a year and a half at this point, and we've got some really good stuff going on in our community, as well as all the things that we are doing to making sure that Web3 and everybody that's out there gets the training and the education for them to successfully onboard into Web3. So again, we're excited to be here, and we're really excited to be co-hosting this with Jenny. So welcome, Jenny. Before we get started, I just wanted to do a little bit of a housekeeping, just because I know the space is going to get big, and we want to make sure that we give Jenny the opportunity to speak on her topic. So first, the format's going to be very simple, and the way we're going to do that is to have Jenny speak on her topic, and to ensure that everybody gets what we need to get out of the space. And basically, we're going to go ahead and follow that format, and the space is going to be an hour and 15, so it will end promptly at 12:45. We're going to go ahead and have her give you the overview, and then Gina will follow up with questions. And then we're going to go ahead and open it up to the audience. So everybody will, if you guys are open to asking questions, we'll give you guys the opportunity to go ahead and do so, but only after Jenny has her portion to speak and share with the wealth of knowledge that she has. And then when it's your turn to speak, we'll call on you. A gentle reminder, you guys, this is not a show space. We're really here for education and for Jenny to educate and train us on the topic on hand. So really, just want to make sure that we are keeping that straight. And then it's really for us to go ahead and get educated, right? So just keep that in mind. And then just also a reminder, personally, I love soundboards, but we have people on their earbuds and headphones, and sometimes it can be pretty disruptive for those folks. So if you guys can keep the soundboards off, that would be great. And if I have to be the mean person, I will. If you guys shill, or if you guys don't necessarily go off topic, unnecessarily go off topic, I will go ahead and mute you guys. So I'm the bad person, but I'm here to make sure that Jenny has the platform that she requires to make sure she delivers the education that we're looking for. Thank you, Jenny. Okay. I wanted to go ahead and introduce you guys to Gina. She's the founder of Everyday Shiro. And for those of you guys that are in our community, I'm sure you guys know her. But for those of you guys that are not familiar with Gina, she's a powerhouse to be reckoned with. I'm sure that you guys have seen her in Twitter spaces. Like I said, she's transitioned to Web3 probably a year and a half to 2 years ago. And in that time, she's been incredible, and she's done a lot of work, positive work for minority and women in this space. And I just want to give her a shout out before we get started. She was the former CMO VP of $1 million brands in beauty, health, cosmetics, you name it, she's done it. I'm not going to age her, but she's been around the block once or twice. And like I said, she's an amazing person. And for Everyday Shiro community, and I think people would agree, she's been a mentor, she's been a motivator, she's an amazing content developer and a teacher, and really an inspiration for all of us that are looking to transition to Web3 successfully. And if nothing else, she's been a great ear and has been...
I'm just going to do a quick introduction about why we're having this space, and of course, introduce our amazing guests. And so right now for Everyday Shiro, we're searching for funding partners and exploring the right funding paths. So when I heard Jenny speak on Twitter Spaces the other week, I knew I wanted to know more about RegCF and how we can help not just our brand, but the others in our community. And that means the women, minorities, and the underserved that Everyday Shiro is trying to go ahead and transition into Web3. And so I am going to come, and how the space is going to run, again, I'm going to come from the average Jane, or we can call it the average Gina, or what Kim was saying. She doesn't want to date me, but I am Gina from the block. And yes, she can date me. It's okay. Lots of wisdom coming with age. But what I wanted to just share with you guys, if you're not familiar, and I want you just to have this basis, and some of you are very familiar with this, but most of you aren't. So if you're not familiar with crowdfunding, here is the download. And of course, Jenny is going to walk us through this. Get your pen and pad out, whatever your notepad out, and get ready to just really understand how this is going to help your business. And so again, if you're not familiar with crowdfunding, here is the download. So perhaps you put some money into Kickstarter because you wanted to be the first new game or be the first owner of a new game by an independent developer, or perhaps you want to be the first couple owners of a new water bottle project or a new board game, or perhaps you contributed to a GoFundMe campaign for a neighbor who's been overwhelmed. I've done both. So if you've already done this before, you're already involved in crowdfunding. And so learning about this is going to be super, super cool because Jenny, who is a Wall Street veteran and also a venture capitalist, she's going to break it down for us because as a community of entrepreneurs here right now in the Web3 space, we need to be able to explore our options. And not everyone's going to be able to get an angel. Not everyone's going to be able to get a VC at this point. So you want to have options. So it is my honor. And I am just so thrilled to have Jenny Qutaw on this space. And so welcome, Jenny. And we are ready to hear everything you want to share about RegCF.
Well, hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to both ladies. I'm grateful, honored to be here this morning. Is everyone can hear me all right?
You sound awesome.
Okay, all right. Well, since we have a limited time today, let's just dive straight in to the Q&As because that's what I'm here for, is to answer any questions that anyone may have. And let's just go directly with that. I do wanted to mention, since I did not see the room is being recorded, I did ask a staff of mine to go ahead and record it so that we can have the backup just in case to those who are watching. I believe, is it the soccer game this morning from Cater, that they either may be hopping in late or they may miss this event so that they can have a backup copy. So if you're going to be asking any questions coming up to the mic, just to make sure that the space is being recorded. And I'm here to answer any questions. So let's just start out with the ladies who are hosting the space today. Once again, I'm super grateful and honored for both of you guys. I do believe your team has a number of questions about the RegCF. So we can start out, from your team, and then we can go from there, if that's all right.
Sure. So right now, this is a good time. If you've got a question, go ahead and request speaker. You know that we have like 10 spots, I believe, that are available right now. So just raise your hand and Kim will get you guys approved to get on the platform. Okay, so Jenny, does the platform specialize in a particular industry, geography, or demographic group?
No. Particularly myself, I'm one of the founding members of Web3 VC funds. I do like to personally write checks for the Web3 space and or female founded startups or projects. And the reason that is because, again, I've been in entrepreneurship nearly half of my life. I guess you can say the other half I've been in college, high school, and then through college. And then after that, I've been out and I've been an entrepreneur since then. And female founders, they do need help. The quick data, if I may repeat, is that of the 100% venture capital pie, female founders for the last, I would say at least since 2016 to now, that's 6 years, female founders have only been getting 2% of the pie. That's 2% of the pie. So, you know, myself as a venture, I'm an independent venture capitalist, a VC, angel investor. That's another term for myself. I do write checks. The smallest check that I've ever written for a startup is 10,000. Average is around $25,000. The biggest check that I've written in the startup world is $250,000. If you guys must ask, well, how have those checks been doing? I will be very honest with you. Probably 92% of my investment in startups are either a loss and or it's still pending, meaning that there's no upside potential yet. Anyone else who tells you anything else otherwise, you need to be skeptical and you need to check the data because in the startup world, venture capital, the ratio in terms of success rates and failures are extremely high on the failure side. Most larger venture capital firms such as Andreessen Horowitz or Sequoia, which we recently heard a lot because they invested in the FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried fiasco. You know, those top VC firms, they always get some of the hottest deals, usually starting out with the Series A and beyond. And so even they lose over 90% of the deals that they've invested in. It's usually only the top 5 to 7%, you know, of funding deals that hit unicorn statuses that they would end up making a huge gain, which then would totally offset all of the losses that you know that they invested in. Now, circling back to me, obviously, I'm not a Sequoia. I'm not an Andreessen Horowitz, which is short for A16Z. But personally, here's where I make up back my money. Number one, I personally invest in stock or cryptocurrency. That's the bulk of my gains for my net worth. Number two, I flip my own startups. As you can see, I'm a 3X founder. You know, so whenever I founded a company, if the price is right, I tend to let it go. And so those two, personally for me, offset with the losses that I do make investment in female founders or startups. Final question, just in case, is if any of you guys were to say, well, Jenny, if you're losing so much money in startups, why are you still keep investing? Well, let me answer it this way. I am blessed by the Lord. That's giving me a lot that I have been receiving up to this point. And I'm thinking that, let's just say, out of three things, if the Lord's is giving me 2 out of 3, if I don't give back on the third, which is writing checks to startups and female founders, I don't think the Lord's going to like that, and he may not support me any further. So I don't know. I believe in faith, F-A-T-E, and F-A-I-T-H. And I also believe in giving back. So if ever I do write a check, 99% of my checks do go into female founders and projects leading by female, or a co-founder is a female-founded company or project. So I will pause there and I will take on any questions that anyone may have.
Okay, so let me ask you, is this financing strategy good for NFT projects? How far does an NFT project have to be able to use this financing strategy?
Okay, so now we're diving in. Thank you so much for the question. Diving straight into RegCF. Now, RegCF, some of you may have seen some posts that we tweeted out. Basically, RegCF was founded through the Jobs Act from President Obama. Okay, that was back in 2016, and then it became RegCF, which is short for Regulation Crowdfunding. There is another name to it too, but let's just stick with RegCF so everybody is familiar with it. Actually, President Obama signed into law the Jobs Act in 2012. Forgive me about that. And then the SEC came in around 2015 and formed what we now know is RegCF. Now, just the real basic is that since the formation of RegCF, okay, the cap, which is the ceiling for all projects to raise, was only $1.07 million, okay? $1.07 million. And then it wasn't until March of last year, exactly the date was March 15th of 2021, that ceiling was raised to $5 million annually. So for example, say every She Heroes project, if they raise $5 million in 2022, that's the max that they can raise. Then they got to wait until 2023, and then they can raise another $5 million. Now, of course, you got to go through all of the paperwork and stuff, but it's not that difficult. The great thing about the RegCF is that non-accredited investors can invest in these projects. Limited though, okay? If you are an accredited investor, you can invest in these projects in an unlimited amount. So let's just say if you're a rich person, you can write a check for $5 million and then boom, it's done. That entire project is done if you are an accredited investors. But if you are a non-accredited investor, the SEC puts a limit so that you don't lose everything because you're non-accredited. Basically, it's about 10% of your annual income or net worth, whichever is greater. But non-accredited investors cannot invest more than $124,000 per year. Okay, so let me pause and let me dive over to answer what is an accredited investor. And then when I answer that, you will automatically know what is a non-accredited investor. An accredited investor, just remember the first couple of things. Number one, if you are single, meaning you're not married or filing jointly with anyone, you must make $200,000 in annual income. $200,000 in annual income. If you are married or you are filing your taxes with a partner or a spouse, that's called a joint tax filing with someone else. Together, those two people must make $300,000 annually. Then you would qualify as an accredited investor. The third option, assuming you don't make $200,000 individually, or you don't make $300,000 jointly, you must have a net worth of $1 million. Now, let me elaborate a little bit further on the net worth. Now, some have came to ask me because they're confused. They say, well, Jenny, how does that make sense? How can you have $1 million net worth, but you don't even make $200,000? Easy. And I've seen this when I was on Wall Street. And I've shared this example before. Let's just say there's someone who's working at McDonald's. He's only 24 years old. He's a college student. He works at McDonald's, and obviously he does not make $200,000 a year. And then his grandfather or his grandmother passes away. And then boom, the next day, the estate lawyer gives him a call and said, Mr. Jones, congratulations. Well, not congratulations. That's not a good thing. But, you know, your grandfather left an estate, and I'm the estate attorney. And so, you know, you have, he has left you $1 million. Okay. Now, of course, in the real world, that's not how things work. The lawyers don't call up the grandson and tell him that information over the phone. Usually the lawyer would ask the grandson to drop by the office, show him the paperwork, and let him know that he just inherited $1 million cold cash from his grandfather. Then that instantly made him a millionaire. So then he is an accredited investor on the net worth side, not on the annual income side. Okay, so that's the answer in terms of anybody's curious why the net worth is high if they don't make the annual income. There are possibilities there. The final thing is regards to the net worth. Now, let's just say if I consider myself as a accredited investor, and if my net worth is above $1 million, the SEC does not count my first home. So let's just say I live in Newport Beach, and I only have one home, and that home is worth $3 million per se. Okay. Or, well, $3 million is excessive, but that's the area. But let's just say my home is worth $1 million, and that's it. I have zero cash in the bank. I'm not working. I don't have an income. The SEC still does not consider me as an accredited investor, because the definition of accredited investor is the $1 million net worth minus your first home. So if anyone is still a little bit confused, you can still Google it, but those are the major requirements to become an accredited investor. They've actually just added a few more last year, and one of those option is if you have securities licenses. What that means is you have a Series 7, a Series 24. Security licenses are stockbrokers who work on Wall Street. They have a Series 7, the 63, the 24. You are also an accredited investor when you hold those licenses, even if you don't have the 200,000 or the 300,000 annual income or the 1 million net worth. So to finalize the answer is that while I personally invest in female-founded companies and Web3 spaces, but the company, the Web3 VC funds, were open to help any and all startups looking to raise funding within the RegCF crowdfunding. So I will pause right there.
That was so informational. Are you going to do an infographic, perhaps? Like, you've got a great team there that does great infographics, and Are you going to do an infographic to break out like the accredited investor and what a non-accredited investor is, so everybody can get all that, or do you just want everybody in the audience to Google?
At the moment, I can certainly tweet right afterwards, but I need my team to do a post. But Sean, he's one of my team members. He has both accounts now. Vitalik the Goat, that's Sean, and then Frisco is also Sean. Sean, can you go to the Web3 VC profile and pin some of the tweets there with some of the posts that the team tweeted out? So, but
Yeah.
I will, thank you, Sean. I will have the team create a post about accredited investor probably by the end of today. So we will tweet that out.
That is awesome. And it's a Sunday. We love
Right.
that. We love to get as much education as possible. Okay, so Jenny, I'm looking around the room. I'm looking at various PFPs. I'm looking at what stages they're in. So how far into your project can you use RegCF? Can you be just a pitch deck? Because we know there's lots of people in the space that are just operating and raising and minting that they barely have a pitch deck. Do you have to already have an MVP? Are you just building a foundation still, like still building your community? Can you be pre-revenue? Who is the best person to go and use this platform? And also, are there like rules, like how far in your project can you use RegCF?
Gotcha. Excellent question. Basically, RegCF is regulated. Again, the first word reg gives it away. Reg is short for regulated. Okay, regulated crowdfunding. So with RegCF, there are basically two tiers. Okay, the first tier is if you raise up to say $500,000 through a RegCF, you can basically have a review of your financial. Okay, most startups, their financial should be quite basic. And then if you wanted to raise up to say 1.07 million, then you would need what it's called a CPA review of your financial too as well. But if you wanted to raise up to say $5 million, then you would have to have an audited financial. Audited financial is obviously has to be done by the CPA. And so he would need to review your financial, audited, put his company signature on it. And then that would be one of the requirement for you to, that's where Web3 VC funds do. And I will share that in a bit of what we do. We would package it and submit it to either a register SEC web portal or a broker dealer. Now, when you go to Web3 VCfunds.com, which is my company, we have specific packages out there we lay out for the people to see and understand. Okay. The first package is more or less we work with the startups to make sure you have the basic paperwork and to answer if you are pre-revenue, that's also fine. Okay. Because even in, larger corporation, revenue is, it's a vague number. Like, for example, YouTube. Okay, we all know YouTube is a ginormous tech company, but not everyone knew that for the first 10 to 15 years of YouTube, they made revenue, but they've never really earned any income. They've actually lost, money for like over 10 to 15 years. So within the startup world, yes, it would be best if you have some kind of a proof of concept or a product market fit, because when you do that, when you go out to do crowdfunding, people will probably would not hesitate to write you a check, $500, $1,000, $2,000. I mean, we've heard, was it from Kim? She shared a little bit at the beginning about Kickstarter. Now, I wanted to make the distinct difference between Kickstarter and a RegCF is that on Kickstarter, when you write a check for like $500 or $1,000 that you contributed into these projects on Kickstarter, all you will be receiving in the end is that project. Again, not the project, but the item, the product from that project, like a coffee cup or a machine or whatever it is that project is. You do not own the shares of that company that came up with that project, because Kickstarter is not regulated through the SEC. So they're considered not to be a security. So therefore you cannot invest it in that way. RegCF, okay, when you write that check or you make a contribution into a project, you are literally a shareholder of that company. So if that company, that startup, that project, if it happens to grow and it becomes like an Airbnb or an Uber, well, guess what? You own a share or shares of that company when it goes public. That's the difference between a RegCF and a Kickstarter. So back to the question, is that paperwork's got to be in place because it's regulated, okay? And where Web3 VC funds come in is we help you to make sure that all of your paperwork is in place. And when you go through Web3 VC funds, we guaranteed, the word is guarantee, that your project will be connected with a broker-dealer or an SEC register portal, okay? Now, the reason why I can use the word guarantee is because one of the founders of Web3 VC funds owns a broker-dealer, okay? So that's, one of the founding members of Web3 VC funds. And I've been on Wall Street, the first half of my life in entrepreneurship. So I have a lot of friends who do own RegCF, SEC register portal. And so, submit your plan, okay? The only thing is that there is a basic cost, and that cost is, of course, if you go through an attorney, which attorneys will help you, you probably spend anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 for the same amount of things that we do on Web3 VCs. But as you can see, the maximum expenses that you spend from A to Z to get your project up, being listed at a broker-dealer or an SEC register portal is $27.99. Attorneys will charge you $5,000 to $10,000 or more to do the basic things that we do. So every startup has an expense. The thing with Web3 VC funds is the very first package, which is the basic package, we do charge $9.99, but, okay, if anyone owns a Vitalik the Goat NFT, okay, the Vitalik the Goat NFT is being sold for half an ETH. Now, ETH has gone down. Ethereum has gone down with the market. Obviously, it's only, less than $1,200 for one ETH right now. So half of an ETH, you only spend $600 for a Vitalik to Go NFT. So you literally save 50% from the Web3 VC basic package to get all of your paperwork review and assistant to get you going on that aspect. So that's the long to the short answer is no. Any projects are welcome. NFT projects, Web3 projects. The key to RegCF is the paperwork. And everybody needs to be docs. Docs meaning that you cannot show, you're a mutant ape, or you have to show your true name, who is owning the corporation, because again, it is registered, SEC register. I hope that helps.
So, yeah, no, Jenny, that was so informative. So let me ask you, because again, lots of newbies in here, people are getting educated, do they need for you to go ahead and fill the paperwork? So how in depth is the paperwork from the project or brand side? Are we talking a white paper plus a business plan plus a pitch deck and then just the projections for the financials? Or can someone just say, okay, I'm getting a Vitalik Goat NFT and all I have is a 10-page PowerPoint pitch deck?
Well, most Web3 projects, especially NFT projects, they usually start out with that. And if that's all that they have, then they still got a few more steps to go. For example, everything is common sense. Common sense means this way. RegCF, when someone writes you a check, think of it this way, okay? When someone writes your project or your company a check through RegCF, I just shared 10 minutes ago that they own a piece of your company through what it's called a stock or equity. So in order for that to happen, your project must be placed under a corporation. Now, that's the next thing. Maybe the next time, if we're out of time today, there's a difference between an LLC and a C Corp or an S Corp. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time. In order to go through RegCF, it would be best to use a C Corp or an S Corp. The difference between the two is just basically taxes. But if you are the type of founders that are thinking big, like, oh, I want to go IPO one day. I wanted to go from a RegCF to a Series A, a Series B. I want to raise 20, 30, 40, $50 million. I want my company to be a unicorn. Then a C Corp should be the entity that you should set up. One of the best states to set up a C Corp, if you want to think of unicorn statuses, is always Delaware. Why? Because Delaware protects, the laws of Delaware protects the shareholders. If you look up almost all of the major companies that are publicly traded, from Microsoft, Facebook, Airbnb, Uber, Tesla, they're all Delaware corporation, okay? In the Web3 space, fintech space, Wyoming is picking up to be a good state to also incorporate to as well. So back to the question. So if you only have a project, an NFT project, and you have a website, obviously, I've seen a lot of NFT projects, they have a website. One of the things that I did catch on most of these websites is when I go there, I don't see anybody's being doxxed, okay? They have memes, or they have, their NFTs as, lead projects, You can keep that on your website, but just be mindful. that when paperwork is being collected, it would require you to show your true name. So if you go on Web3 VC funds and you click on the teams page, okay, most of my team members, I'm still training them, besides the founding partners, they all started out with, founding their own NFT projects. But as you can see, when they join me, they're all docs. I need their real pictures, I need their real names, and they have to have a LinkedIn profile. Okay. So then after that, basically as simple as we will ask you, well, your next stage is you need to set up a tax ID number. You need to set up a corporation. All of that can be done probably within $200 to $300. Again, I'm sharing. I know startup. I started out in the startup world, so of course I always trying to find a path to help the startup founders to get from A to Z at the cheapest path possible. Okay, because I've been there. I've done that. Okay, so basically the basic package one is I will give you guidance and you got to do it yourself. Okay. If you can't do it yourself, then you got to go up to the standard package, which is where we will do it for you. Okay. But most people, since we've launched, I think just about 2 to 3 weeks ago, most people, they would put out the budget for the Lux package. So we would help them from A to Z and get them listed on a broker-dealer platform or a registered SEC portal so they can start collecting checks. Okay, so that's called A to Z. But yeah, so that's where we're at with Web3 VC funds, is to help founders and creators of projects from A to Z until they get listed on a broker-dealer, a registered SEC broker-dealer, or a registered SEC portal, so they can start collecting checks. That doesn't include a couple things. Number one, for audited financials, that will be extra. So that means if you are looking to raise up to $5 million, we do work with CPAs to get you a fixed package on that. You got to pay the CPA on that. Some people come to us and they say, Jenny, I don't have a website. A website is required because you need to share information about your project. We do have technical teams that can basically help you put up a website for a couple thousand, depending how fancy you want your website. It could be $2,000 to $3,000 or beyond. And then, and then when you place your project with a broker dealer or a web portal, there is a back end fee from the broker dealer or the web portal, anywhere between 2 to 3%. Again, that's back end. What that means is back end is at the end of the day, if you receive $1 million from investors, they would take 2 to 3% on the back end. They don't take it in the front end. So that's pretty much A to Z of how RegCF works. But the crucial point is at the beginning. All of the paperwork, etc. You can go through us, or you can find a lawyer, and there's got to be an expenses for all startups. So I will pause right there.
Okay, gosh, there's so much to download, and I hope everyone's taking notes because it's such incredible sharing here. If you are like Everyday Shiro, where we're also trying to find the right funding path. Jenny, let me ask you, do you already have to have your officers spelled out, your equity splits, and all that figured out before you go ahead and hire your company to start positioning the brand? Or is this something that you can wait to do?
Yes, you got to have all your ducks in a row. And basically, if you go ahead and drop visit web3vcfunds.com. Scroll down to the middle of the page where you see the three packages, the basic, the standard, and the Lux. If you just look under the Lux, okay, is a lot more detail where such as we will create a data room where usually most people can use Google Drive. It's free, okay? You got your marketing, your financial, your AML, KYC. But the bottom line is that, yes, you will need what it's called a cap table. The cap table is extremely important. For example, if you don't have a cap table, how do you expect people to invest into your company, right? So what is a cap table? For example, say, I'm just going to choose my teammate, Sean. He's in here. Let's just say Sean creates a C Corp out of Delaware, and his C Corp has a total of 10 million shares, okay, common stock. So out of this 10 million shares, Sean wants to raise $5 million through a RegCF, okay? So he gives it to himself, say 51%. So what that means is 5,100,000 shares under his name. The other one, 4.9 million share, he wanted to raise through a RegCF. So through us, we will help him sort out the valuation of his company. You know, if he has any sales, or is it just in a very, very early startup stage, but he has such a great idea. You know, his revenue is coming in. He sold some NFTs, you know, but he wants to put out the project. He wanted to go to the community, you know, to seek more funding from the community to scale his project a little bit further. So we would value his project. Let's just say we value his project at, you know, if he wants to raise $5 million, usually that would be difficult if it's just like at an idea stage, because when you wanted to raise $5 million, your company should at least value more than that. So let's just say double, okay? So it would be $10 million. So then we would do the math. We will help you do the math so that we will come out with a price per share, like 10 cents a share, 15 cents a share, so that there are enough shares for those who are going in to write a check for this project, that the founder or the creator will take $5 million. There are enough shares for the shareholders to consume whenever they write a check to invest in this project. And that is called a market cap, okay? Or not a market cap, the cap table, where it shows all the shareholders from the founder to the TO to CFO, how many owns what. Through Web3 VC Funds, which is my company, we can help and guide you all that, so that you can have all of your ducks in a row, and that, you know, when we package it, everything, we send it over to the broker dealer. All they got to do is check it off. Okay, you got this, check, 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 check. And then we will help you what it's called file a Form C. A Form C is about your projects and all of your ducks in a row with the SEC. As soon as you file the Form C with the SEC, boom, your project is live, okay? Then you can tweet, you can, you know, get your community behind it. You know, the next time when we have a chance, I can go further into the marketing behind RegCF. There are some limitations, but pretty much at the end of the day, everybody's have to direct your tweets, your posts, your TikTok, whatsoever marketing that you do back to the web page that is hosted directly under a broker dealer or a registered web portal for the RegCF for the RegCF crowdfunding. So that's where the regulation comes in. They don't want, the SEC doesn't want 1,001 different websites, each saying something else about, a certain project. They only want one page about that project, that company, and that page must be monitored by the broker-dealer or the registered SEC web portal so that data is not being misconstrued, because again, the financial has already been reviewed, audited, and so they don't want that website to be controlled by anyone else but the SEC registered broker-dealer or web portal, so that the data would not be construed, be fixed, be changed, etc. That's the regulated part. And to finalize is that, again, we did tweet out about the data under RegCF, and I wanted to remind everyone here that the RegCF is picking up extremely strong. And let me brief the data right now, okay? Since RegCF was formed back in 2012 to 2015, through last year, with just the 1.07 million limit, they've raised about $500 million in total. All of those years combined, just $500 million in total. Then last year, when the ceiling was raised from that 1.07 million to 5 million, the entire last year, and it was only 9 months, it went to $1.1 billion in 9 months, okay? Compared to all of those previous years of just 500 million to 1.1 billion within 9 months last year. This year, the data has not concluded yet because we're still in November. And again, because it's regulated, everybody's got to submit their data through the SEC. They got to be verified, make sure that those startups did get their money. But it has been estimated that this year, it will double last year. So if last year was 1.1 billion, we're expecting 2.2 billions or higher this year. And then it is estimated, forecasted, that next year will double that of this year. So it's a double of a double of a double. And private equity is estimated to be in at least $30 trillion by 2030 is the number that was put out. Let me get the data real quick here. Private securities market, which is what we're doing in RegCF, investing in private entities, will grow from 7 trillion already right now to 30 trillion. That's a T, people, not a B, a T, trillion in 2030. So RegCF is at the center of attention, especially for female founders, because don't bother going to traditional VCs. They won't help you. It's been like that since 2015. Female founders are stuck at the 2% stage. Don't expect anything higher. RegCF is your gameplay. Go to RegCF, make it happen for you, female founders. And I do believe that RegCF will be that ultimate solution to flip the script for female founders when it comes to startups.
That was so compelling, Jenny. So let me ask you, how long, and I know, hey, this is just a quick reset, everybody. We're going to be ending the space in 15 minutes. If you guys can get your questions ready, I'm just going to ask one more because I really feel like people need to know, like, this is serious business. So how long is this process from cradle to grave? We go ahead and get an NFT, we hire or start collaborating with your firm. How long does it take before we are on a platform, on a crowdfunding platform?
Okay, so my answer will be two paths. It actually depends on you, the founder, the creator of the project. But when we're getting into, RegCF, let's gear towards the term founders instead of creator. It's the same. Well, Elon never calls himself a CEO, but it's just terminologies. Okay. Um, like for example, I myself, I've been a founder of multiple companies. I run very fast. Okay. If I want to do something, I will give up my life over the weekends, that entire week. I'm on a lockdown. I've on lockdowns many times. No social media, no nothing, because I know I got to do from A to Z within X amount of days. That's me. No life, no going out, no whatever. But that's my sacrifice for my own projects. So we work with the founders. Okay. If the founders move quickly, like me, then you can get your projects up from A to Z. I would say probably no more than 30 days. Okay. But if you're talking about Jenny Ta, that if I want to put my project from A to Z on a RegCF, to be honest with you, I could do it within 10 business days because I got the CPA ready. I got the financials ready. I know what I'm doing. I got, if I go through Web3 VC funds, I know the broker dealers are there to take my projects. So if you're Jenny Ta and if you move as quickly as she does, the answer would be you could get your project from A to Z, up probably within 10 business days. But of course, not everyone is a Jenny Ta. You need guidance. You need explanation. You need your hands to be held. You need to file your tax ID. You got to form your C Corp. You got to create your bylaws, yada, 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 yada. So I would say the shortest time frame is a month, 30 days, but you got to move fast though. Okay. You got to move fast with us, with our team. Uh, to maybe 45 or 60 days. I would say that range would be sufficient to get your, ducks in a row, to get it listed so you can start receiving checks.
Got it. So how is there a way that a founder can do it themselves? For example, trademark paperwork. A lot of founders, creators don't know they have to go and fill this out or have this as part of their business model. And if they do, they end up hiring somebody online and paying, I don't know, a few $1,000s. Well, I found for myself, if I just sat in front of my laptop, I was able to go ahead and complete the paperwork in less than an hour and a half. Meaning, because we're bootstrapped, we have to do everything ourselves. Is there a part of this process that a founder creator who's super focused, who could be Jenny, and just focus and do this? Is there any part of it that they can do themselves and then come to you and say, I just need this part?
Absolutely. Now, I founded my first two broker dealers from the ground up by myself without any lawyers. So for me to say that, oh, no, you need my help, you got to go through me, I would be a liar. Okay? Because if you have the will, you have the way. Okay? So what that means is that if you know what you're doing, then you can certainly, getting your tax ID, form your corporation, getting your cap table, even filing your trademarks online. That's one thing I haven't done for myself, though. I'm just being honest, because trademarks and patents are a little bit tricky. And I do usually hire a lawyer, or there are trademark attorneys out there that they file in bulk, so, but at least if you file it through them, they can catch certain things that you may or you may not do, because you don't want to spend money filing a trademark, and then, months or a year later you find out, you miss a word, or you did something wrong, and it wasn't trademark anyway or patented. You're going to lose, that entire, plan. So I'm being truthful and honest. I've never filed a trademark or a patent on my own. I use attorneys for that. But through the RegCF, I say that you can do the basic. You can do, when it comes to the packages on my website, you can do up to the standard, and then we can certainly help you with everything else. Like, we got to help you file your Form C. How about you can go and get your audited financials too? You don't have to go through us. And so the answer is yes, you can certainly do a lot of these on your own, but through RegCF, you still got to end up circling back to being connected with a broker-dealer or a registered SEC portal anyway, because it's regulated. So unlike Kickstarter, most people, they package their projects or a company, and then boom, they go up on Kickstarter and they spend the next 2 or 3 hours to start a campaign, and then that is it, right? But it's not regulated, and you don't own the shares of their company. RegCF is regulated, so there are a couple of items that is regulated that we may need to help you. But other than that, you can certainly, do it yourself if that is to be the case.
Thank you. And I always like to check out everything and see if I can do it myself before I hire an expert, because again, when you are starting up a company, you don't just want to keep writing checks when you can find
Right.
ways to do it yourself. And so I am going to just ask one more question before we open up the speaker panel. And this is a good time if you've got a question. Again, this is Average Jane, Average Joe questions. If you can just go ahead and request for the mic now, Kim will go ahead and add you to the speaker panel. But Jenny, the one other thing that's been in my mind, because again, there's many people that are on this space and also many people that you have connected with. They're in various stages of their startups or creating their company. So when they're doing their due diligence checklist, they've got to come to you. They want to get all the stuff. They cannot do it themselves. Is this as hard as when you're trying to get VC money, where they're requiring credit reports, background checks, and inventory and assets lists, financial forecasts, cash flow projections, trademark and copyright agreements, contractor agreements? Or can we just say, hi, we're here, Jenny, and we need to know where we need to go, but we're all over the place. We're in IRL jobs. How big does the due diligence checklist we have to give to you? How big and how in-depth is that before we can get this documentation filled out and handled by your team?
Okay. So for those who are interested to go to VC funding, trust me, the entire list of the 3 roles that I've listed or we've listed on Web3 VC funds, you will need them anyway when you go to seek investment from venture capital, okay? You would have to put all of that in what it's called a data room, because they would ask for it. The only types of investors that you may not need all of these paperwork is called angel investor, or through a friends and family round. But angel investors, again, like I've shared, I mean, I can write a check for 10 or 15 or 25 $100,000. But trust me, in a startup, that's not going to get you far. Okay. Now, to those who are out there thinking, oh my God, okay, I could just slap something together, have a website, go to Jenny. She's an angel investor and she could just write me a check for 25 grand and then I'm going to go to the Bahamas, right? Trust me, a lot of creators and founders, they do think that way. But even if you can fool an angel investor once or even twice, you can't fool them all the time. And there goes your track record. If you ever landed a real, project that you're serious, who's going to write you another check, right? So the bottom line is angel investors, friends or family round, which is your innermost circle. I mean, sure, they support you because they wanted to support you. So they can write you a check, $5,000, $10,000 or $25,000. But depending on how many of those checks, it may not take you far because, when you scale, unless you are making a lot of revenue, 90% of the startups, they don't. Okay. So they needed the funding to do marketing or to further scale their business, even if they have a great idea. So at the end of the day, if you are ambitious, and you have the passion and you believe that whatever you created, the corporation, the project, it could be scalable to a unicorn status, you still got to need all of these paperwork that is listed on Web3 VC funds anyway, because the day that you hit up or send a pitch deck to a VC, and if they like it, they're going to say, okay, can you create a data room? The minute when you hear the terms data room, boom, all of this that's listed on Web3 VC funds, that's what you would need. Okay. So it's the baby step. The RegCF is actually the baby step for you to scale your business. It's the seed funding that gives the founders the funds they need to nourish their idea so the business can grow and succeed, which then in turn helps a startup to scale, reaching to the point where it can attract venture capital and where an investor can generate a strong return. That's RegCF. So I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you so much for clarifying that. So then there's people, I'm literally looking at everyone that's in the space, opening up their PFPs and everything. What happens if you are in the middle of a mint? Say a project, an NFT project, already has minted through a friends and family round or their allow list, 1,000 NFTs. How do you transfer that into RegCF, or how does that blend? Does that work? Because it seems like it's a complicated transition.
Well, okay, so let's just say someone has an NFT collection and they've already sold 1,000 pieces. We need to transfer that sale into the financial, right? So if each piece were sold for say $300, and if you sold 1,000 pieces of that at $300 a pop, you've already made $300,000. That $300,000 must go to some kind of a bank. I mean, yes, it goes into your wallet, okay, but now that's where it's between the fintech Web3 world and the traditional finance world. You still got to liquidate your ETH or your Solana into fiat, open a regular checking account, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, whatnot, move some of that money over, got to go to a CPA, get them to review where that money come from, not money laundering, etc. You got to have AML, KYC, and then that's your financial statement. Pretty much sums it up as part of the requirement for your entire, quote unquote, put your ducks in a row for the RegCF. It's not that complicated. Again, the fintech world, crypto, and the traditional finance, maybe one of these days, maybe 5, 10 years from now, we may not need to do that anymore. Doing that meaning that I gotta liquidate my Ether or my Solana because I sold them in Ether, in ETH or Solana to put it back into traditional finance, like a banking account with fiat. Because RegCF, SEC, they're still on the traditional side. So we're at the stage in our era right now where we're like in between, both worlds. Okay. Maybe 5 to 10 to 15 years from now, the traditional side will be eliminated. That's when maybe the digital dollar may be in play. So then you might need to convert from your ETH to the digital dollar. That's where CPA can audit your financial, review everything. But that's where it is right now. You do have to do that from the sale of your NFTs. You need to credit it, open an account so that those funds will back up your startup, that your startup is not just an empty shell. You can't, CPAs can't really, well, they can, but they cannot, right? Audit, a MetaMask worth of what, 200 or 300 ETH in there. They could, but it would probably not raise a red flag for the SEC to say, well, what is this? And then the CPA would say, well, here's my audited financial of this company. All they sold is, NFTs, and it's all in ETH, and this is their wallet. It's a highly possibility. I haven't seen it done yet. It would be one of the first, but normally what I've seen is people liquidate their ETH and Solana or whatnot, open a regular checking account, and the CPA audits their financial that way.
Thank you so much. My goodness, that was a lot of compelling information and very educational to our community. We've got lots of Everyday Shiro community members in here. I am going to hand over the mic to Kim, and I think she's going to start calling on people.
Thank you, Jenny. Wow, that was definitely a lot of information. I've taken probably 4 pages of notes, so I'm going to go back and kind of read through it because that was definitely a lot of information to kind of digest and then comprehend. So it's amazing that you were just able to kind of regurgitate that, if you will, just off the top of your head. So thank you for sharing. We do have some people that have requested mic, and if you're interested in asking a question, please request the mic. Go ahead, Charles.
Hi, Jenny. I have a question regarding the size of a project. So if you look at my PFP, that was drawn by this amazing artist and wildlife biologist who has created a project called Cosmic Birds of Ornithia. And I'm fortunate enough to be part of her team on that. I absolutely love her project because it's all citizen science based. She's educating people on how to do it, but it's also a world building project to try to encourage and spark and ignite that explorer that we all had whenever we were kids. One of the things that I have a question about, though, on this is one of the hardest parts for her right now is she works full time as a wildlife biologist, and finding the time and the resources to really put into the project for the marketing and finding a developer, who's, since she doesn't have much money up front, who would be willing to work on that. Is this something that you think this crowdfunding or crowdsourcing would be able to help with, or is that a good plan? What would your recommendation be on that for like a smaller project such as this?
Well, thank you so much for the question. To be very honest, most startups, the founders tend to have a full-time job, and then the startup tends to be starting out as a side gig. And that's understandable because most startups, if if you don't have a job, how are you going to pay for the expenses? Because startups do have costs, right? Um, and that's usually a red flag that you go around and you see creators and projects. They start a project and you find out that if they share, oh, I don't go to work, I'm on this 24/7. That usually leads to a rug pull. Okay, because again, most secure founders, they tend to have a full-time job, and they scale their business, their projects on the sideline until it's strong enough for them to quit, and then they can quit, and then that's when they scale their project further. So in terms of the RegCF, here's my take on that. At the end of the day, it has to be right for you, which is the founder, right? If I were to be that founder, meaning I have a full-time job, but I have this idea, this startup that I know that it will take off, but I still need to keep my full-time job to feed it, right? So then I hear about the Web3 VC funds, right? Or RegCF. And I say, well, geez, that could be a good idea, because if I put out the work, the time, get all the ducks in a row, submit all the paperwork, get my project on, a registered SEC platform or broker dealer, and let's just say I locked in $1 million or $2 or $3 million, then maybe then I could afford to quit my job, hire a couple team members, and then really be full-time, with my startup and really scale my idea. That's a possibility, right? Again, as I started out at the beginning of this Twitter space, that startup has a very high failing rate. Again, over 95% of startups, they do fail because of that aspect. But there are that rare 3 to 5 to 7%, go all the way up to unicorn statuses. And that's why we've heard such phrases such as bet on the jockey, always bet on the jockey, okay? Because it's the jockey who ended up rug pulling their own project because they can't handle it anymore. So they just rug pull it, or they are determined, passionate enough, and their names are at stake, and they say, nope, I'm not going to rug pull this, because if I do it once, I can never do it again, especially if you're docked, okay? So I'm going to carry this through. I'm going to sweat it out. I'm going to, pain as it is, but I'm going to do it. And then usually those ones are the ones that experienced investors do see when they call it, I'm going to bet on the jockey. And those are the projects that tend to succeed. So it's hard for me to say either or regarding this project, because it goes down to the creator, the founder of that project. What does he or she want? And I can't really answer that, because that's from the inner core of each person, how passionate you are, how driven you are, how badly you want it for your project to get to a certain level.
Thank you for answering that. I'm going to bet on the jockey, and our jockey is Gina. So let's go, Gina. Thank you for answering that. Let's see. We have one other speaker, I believe, Sean Vidalik. Do you have a question for Jenny? You've got the mic. Okay. He's not coming on. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Please request the mic. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and end the space here. Jenny, any last words before we end the space?
Yeah, sure. Just a few things is, I know there's a lot to absorb. We've just created a RegCF community, which is right on my page. RegCF community, please join that community. we will drop, additional information in that community. I can answer further specific questions from anyone about the RegCF as we, move forward. And then any specific projects with their team, everybody can hop in there. You can welcome to start your own paperwork, do your own paperwork, just like Gina and Kim shared earlier. They like to do their own things. That's fine. As you're going through putting your ducks together, if you have a question, drop it in the community. I'll answer it. And the reason why that is helpful is because when we do that within a community, other people will benefit. Let's just say they're shy, they don't want to ask the question, they're afraid they might ask it wrong or whatever. So by someone else asking the question and then I'm answering it, it kind of helped the entire community. And within 2 days, actually not even, we went up to 102 members. So that's pretty good. So that's I think that's the strongest community that I've seen within like a 48-hour period.
Wow, that is really awesome. And we'll go ahead and post it in our Discord, Everyday Sheroes Discord, your information, so we can go ahead and make sure that our community members that have any questions in regards to RegCF, they definitely, have the resource to go out and reach out to you, Jenny, as well. Our Discord has a lot of artists and a lot of entrepreneurs, so we'll definitely make sure that they have visibility to all the information that you shared. And it almost sounds like we need a second one as well, just because there was definitely a lot of information, but it also feels like there's probably additional information that you could definitely share with the rest of the community as well. So we'll definitely reach out and get that set up as well. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for all of that information. I know Charles is pretty excited and it looks like he's going to have some takeaway. I know that the rest of our community is also excited, as well as everybody that's here on this platform. We really appreciate your time and all the insightful information that you provided. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up if nobody has anything else.
Yes, and I'm going to review the recording that my team did today, and we may clean it up a little bit, and we would probably going to put it on our YouTube channel. So, you can drop it on your Discord too once that is up, so that anyone who may have missed this, they can, catch it, on the YouTube, and that will get them started too as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, it definitely was a lot of information, and you weren't even talking that quickly, but it was definitely a lot of information. So thank you for the recording and the YouTube video as well. So I think that'd be good. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great Sunday.
Yes.
It's only noon here in California, but wherever you're at, have a blessed Sunday. And thank you so much, Gina and Kim, for the space today. Greatly appreciated.
We as well, we greatly appreciate your presence here. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Bye.
And have a
Thank
great
you, Jenny.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.